Last week, I made a video about Season 2 of Jump Force. It was a video I spent a lot of time on. For people out of the loop, there are unfinished animations in Jump Force that aren't tied to the Season 1 characters. They're in a completely different folder. So what I did is I gathered the help of tons of people in the community. They all sat down and looked at these animations one by one, going through each and every series, trying to match them with certain characters, and we came to our conclusions. In that video, the characters we said were most likely given these animations were Krillin, Orochimaru, Katakuri, Saito, Uraraka, Koro Sensei, Ishida, Pop, and a ninth character that we are very unsure about, but our best guess is Suna. Now that the community has had their time to suggest alternative characters, let's go over each and every one of the characters again and reassess them. Before we get into the list, I didn't see any alternative suggestions for Katakuri, Uraraka, or Koro Sensei, so we won't be talking about those. Let's start off with the cover three, because I think it's really good to eliminate them. That way we know that the future characters can't be a Dragon Ball character, a One Piece character, or a Naruto character. Obviously, we already talked about Katakuri, so we won't be mentioning him. For Krillin, I saw two suggestions. Android 18, who is probably not happening just because she already has clothing in the game, which appears to deconfirm characters from what we can tell. The other suggestion was Gotenks. Gotenks has a similar technique called Galactica Donuts, which again is similar. The pose is very similar, but the character likely wouldn't end their pose in this kind of crouching position. If it was Gotenks, the pose would probably end like this, with these closed fists out in front of his chest. On top of that, if it was Galactica Donuts, I think he would have the startup animation where he kind of swings his hand around to form the ring. So probably not Gotenks. Based on what we can tell on this animation, it's far more likely to be Krillin, even though I would much prefer Gotenks. Gotenks is actually the character I want from Dragon Ball, but just based on this animation, Krillin seems far more likely. Then we have Orochimaru, and the only other suggestion I heard for this animation was someone telling me that I was wrong about Orochimaru being the only one to use triple Rashomon, because both Sakon and Hashirama have used the move as well. But I actually never said Orochimaru was the only one to use triple Rashomon. What I said was that he's the only one to do it with two hands. When Hashirama uses the technique, he does it with one hand. And I'll be honest, I don't know whether Sakon uses one or two hands, but let's face it, Sakon is not happening. So given that information, this is probably Orochimaru still. I'll try not to spend a lot of time on this one because it's a little bit silly, but somebody brought up the Saito pose being Gintoki. And I know there's a lot of people out there who want to see Gintoki, and I even made a joke on Twitter that it kind of looks like what Tanjiro does, but that was definitely a joke. It's just Saito. The animation plays out the exact way that Saito uses the pose in the anime, in the OVA, in the manga. It's just Saito. I was hoping to get a lot of feedback about this character that I currently believe to be Ishida from Bleach, because I had a lot of people telling me I was wrong about Ishida, but with no alternative suggestions. I did see someone suggest a character from Siren, a manga series under Weekly Shonen Jump that doesn't currently have an anime. I like the out-of-the-box thinking, but sadly, I couldn't find any poses that directly match up with the manga panels, and considering the lack of source material, you would expect something to line up perfectly. And this is less important for matching up the animations, but I would expect if we were to get a series that is that new, it would be something like Kimetsu no Yaiba or even Dr. Stone. I don't think Siren would make it into Jump Force. Then we've got Pop. I could tell there was an overall dislike towards Pop because it's Dragon Quest, but the only counter suggestions I saw for this animation don't match up at all. I heard some people say Shota Todoroki, which in theory kind of works, but this would have to be his icy arm as opposed to his fire arm, and whenever he does an attack even remotely close to this, he uses his fire arm, and even when he does that open palm thing he does with his fire technique, he doesn't lean forward like they're doing in Jump Force. And then of course I saw the Hiei suggestions, and even if you find the perfect scene to try to line this animation up with, it's still not quite right. Hiei's running is not the same, and the final pose of the attack does not match. Hiei stands up straight and he clutches his fingers together. The Jump Force animation, the character is leaning forward with a completely open palm, just exactly like Pop. Also, these moves are likely special moves based on everything else we understand about these animations, so it wouldn't be something that would be an awakening technique, which is exactly what Dragon of the Darkness Flame would be. And this move that Pop is doing is a generic spell that he would almost definitely have in his moveset, and certainly would not be an awakening technique. And for the final animation, one that isn't even an animation, it's just a single pose, the only other suggestion I heard was Rao from Fist of the North Star. The animation doesn't quite line up though. This Rao was actually one of the characters we looked at for quite a long time, and he doesn't really do anything like this in the manga or the anime. Rao does have something pretty similar in some video games, but even that doesn't match the animation we have in Jump Force. In Jump Force, the character is clearly grabbing their right arm with their left arm, where Rao doesn't touch his right arm at all. He kind of just holds his left arm over his right arm, leaving quite a significant amount of space between the two arms. So we still don't have a perfect match for this final animation. So as far as speculating just off of these animations, I think we're probably done. So there you go, that's it. I laid out all the reasonable alternatives for these animations and even some less reasonable ones, and I don't think we're going to learn anything else about these animations until we get maybe another patch and the data mining community finds something else. But for now, I would say these are our best guesses for DLC. However, if you still think you have a better alternative, don't feel dissuaded by that. Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. My name has been Bilbzy, and I will see you in the next video.